That's just not okay. That's not okay.
In Wairarapa, guide dog owners have found themselves kicked out of cafes.
It feels like your freedom of choice is being taken away.
And discriminated against.
I can't get around without her.
By businesses who don't know the law and don't realise that guide dogs are essential for disabled people to live their lives. Dogs have long been known as man's best friend, but there's a big difference between the average pooch and a dog that can open doors for humans needing help to get around. Reasons for needing guide dogs vary from epilepsy to neurodivergence, but we most often see guide dogs assisting blind people. According to Blind Low Vision New Zealand, an estimated 180,000 Kiwis live with severe to moderate vision loss, and of those, 18,200 use a fully trained guide dog.
It gets pretty intense. It's kind of like these dogs are going to university and, really learning the ropes.
Blind Low Vision New Zealand is one of 8 certified disability assist dog organisations in Aotearoa. They breed their own Labradors and send them to volunteer homes for the first 15 months, where they are socialised and taught the basics of being a good dog.
They'll learn basic obedience and those sorts of things. They'll learn to toilet on command, which is a very important part of being a guide dog. And again, be socialized in the environment. That's the most important part of that puppy raising program, is to be able to go out into public, for it to be normal for them to go into cafes and shops and airports, ride on buses and trains and that sort of thing. So they get that exposure during that time.
The puppies then return to Blind Low Vision's kennels in Manurewa, Auckland, for more intensive training. It's here where they learn how to be responsible for a human's safety.
The things that they learn in guide dog training are, how to maintain a straight line while guiding someone down the footpath, avoiding obstacles, avoiding people, stopping at all intersections. So we train them to, stop obviously before they walk into the road. We train them to stop for all elevation changes. So whether it's stairs coming up or going down, train them to stop and allow the handler to figure out what's happening in front of them before they take the next step.
Once the organisation matches a dog to their human, they become the guide dog's handler. It's the handler's responsibility to determine things like the dog's orientation and when it is safe to cross the road.
It's teamwork. They really rely on one another to get from point A to point B. So we ask our dogs really to ignore what it is just to be a dog. So, there's no picking food up off the ground. There's no visiting with other dogs on the walk. There's no taking food from people, any of that. So we really ask them to ignore their basic instincts to be a guide dog. So it's a big, big job for a dog.
How many guide dogs and service dogs actually make the cut in training? Like, what percentage are chosen for it that actually are able to continue being guide dogs? Because there will be ones that just love to run after people.
Yeah, absolutely. There are vast differences really between guide dogs and most other types of service dogs. And that's mainly for the reasons that I explained earlier, which is the level of trust that we put into a guide dog. They actually have someone's safety, in their paws, if you will. With a guide dog, obviously temperamentally, they've got to be really sound. We need these dogs who can handle just about anything, and keep somebody safe. So typically in the guide dog world, we see about a 35 to 40% success rate from birth to actually becoming a qualified guide dog. So it's a lot of resource for a small success rate at the end, but it's just the way it goes.
Because guide dogs are so highly trained and so important to the safety of their handler, they're allowed to go anywhere they're needed, often into places where dogs are strictly forbidden, and sometimes that can cause problems. Recently, Masterton social worker Donna Lane was thrown out of a local cafe because of her guide dog.
So I was at the counter and I was getting my food and I was just about to pay and somebody said beside me, and I have no peripheral vision so I didn't see them coming towards me, very grumpily, "Can you please get that dog out of here?" And I turned around and looked and I said, "Oh, sorry, she's allowed to be in here. She's a guide dog." I didn't actually realise he worked there. And he got grumpier and said, "No, that she has to get out. Get that dog out of here."
Guide dog handlers are provided with cards to carry on them, explaining the law and rights of handlers to take their assistance dogs everywhere they go.
And I said, "Look, I'm sorry, but it's actually illegal. You can get quite a big fine for declining my guide dog, and showed him the card, and he took one glimpse at it and said, no, get her out. You can eat outside.
According to the Dog Control Act and Human Rights Act, if an individual is treated differently because they have a guide dog, this may be discrimination on the grounds of disability. Businesses or landlords can find themselves liable for fines up to $3,000 if they refuse service, housing, or transport to a guide dog handler.
That's just not okay. It's not okay. It's really hard being blind and travelling around with a guide dog. I know that seeing a great big dog in a cafe can be challenging for people, but I need her, and it's the law, pure and simple.
Donna has retinitis pigmentosa, a degenerative disease which causes cells in the retina to deteriorate over time, eventually leading to loss of vision. She's had guide dog Kenzie by her side for the last 5 years.
I can't get around without her. I do have a cane, and I was trained in using a cane to start with, but Kenzie, it's a bit like, a cane is like travelling on a skating board, and using Kenzie is like travelling in a Mercedes. That's the comparison. So a cane, I can move things, you push it around, but it'll still go under a chair, and you'll still walk into the chair, whereas Kenzie will actually walk around the chair.
After discussions and texts, the cafe owner Tanvi Patel apologised for the incident. She said the staff member responsible wasn't aware of the laws regarding guide dogs and that she is now ensuring that all staff are educated on this. Patel says that she values all customers and wants them to be comfortable in the cafe. She also suggested that council should educate local businesses on guide dog laws to avoid problems like these occurring again. But unfortunately, Donna is not alone in being subject to discrimination. Joe Torkomo and partner Terry Fraser also claim to have faced discrimination from Strada.
You feel vulnerable?
Yeah.
Yeah, disempowered. It feels like your freedom of choice is being taken away. And also a breach of your human rights. So that's why it's really important to be able to deal with those situations, because if you're not prepared, it can be humiliating.
Unlike Joe, Terry is not blind, but she has faced discrimination on behalf of her partner.
I would just like to say to Strada, learn more about the legal rights of a guide dog, and don't tell anybody with a guide dog that they have to make an appointment before they can go in to have a coffee. I got told that when I rang up, you need to, if you want to come for coffee, book a table. And I just said, no, I don't need to do that. So, yeah, we can go anywhere. We don't have to make bookings to go for coffee. Yes, for dinner and for lunch, I get it, but not just during the day.
Joe has suffered visual impairment from Lieber's optic atrophy since he was 19 and has had his guide dog Anki for 10 months. The couple say, on the whole, Greytown's community has been hugely supportive of Anki, but when travelling further afield, they have had 11 confrontations so far, even when she has her certified vest on.
Every day he wakes up knowing that he's got a visual disability, and he goes out with Anki, who is his eyes, his life, his support, enabling him to be independent and to be faced with these challenges has been quite a journey for him and myself, because often people do not see Joe or talk to Joe, they direct their conversations at me. So I'm an advocate as well, and yet I'm not the handler of the guide dog.
So the other cues that I miss is the body language. However, I do pick up on the tone of the voices when we go into these businesses, and it can be the difference between me communicating with the people or being defensive. Because in my experience, when people have said no, you can tell straight away that they're not willing to listen. And that's one of the most disappointing things that we've had when going into businesses.
Blind Low Vision says in the instance of confrontation, its first priority is education. The organisation receiving several complaints a month for these kinds of scenarios.
It usually comes out of ignorance of the law and just a misunderstanding. There are also cultural differences that often lead to these types of experiences. People coming from other parts of the world where dogs are not seen the way they're seen here in New Zealand can have an effect on whether they think a dog is allowed inside a cafe or not.
What is an example of where rejecting a service dog might negatively impact the person using the service dog?
There are so many negative impacts. if you can imagine being in a cafe and you've gone up to the counter to order a coffee and the person there asks you to leave, first of all, it's humiliating. Suddenly this person is being pointed out as someone who doesn't belong, who isn't welcome. So there's that. There are other times that it can actually affect people's livelihood if they're expecting a taxi to pick them up and the taxi rolls up, sees they have a guide dog and refuses service. That person maybe doesn't get to work on time, and if this is a constant for them. Same with buses. I've personally experienced this as someone who trains guide dogs. Had a bus pass me by when they saw I had a guide dog. So you're standing there stranded. That can affect your safety.
Donna has one final message for anyone questioning a guide dog's place.
Everybody's pushing a wheelbarrow. You don't know how heavy that wheelbarrow is. Be kind. Even if you don't know the law and you don't think that dog should be in there, treat me with some respect and then find out what the law is.
Meanwhile, Blind Low Vision says it's committed to working with the cafe so they better understand the law surrounding guide dogs. Ellie Frankel, Local Focus.